The words blurred on the page, but my mother's handwriting stayed sharp. Everything to Nathan. The house, the accounts, the jewelry. Nathan needs stability. My name appeared once, in a paragraph about items of sentimental value that could be discussed at a later time. I was sitting at her kitchen table, the same scratched oak surface where I'd done homework for 18 years. She'd asked me to grab a folder from the drawer while she answered the door. The folder was labeled insurance documents. The will was tucked behind it like she'd forgotten, or maybe like she'd wanted me to find it eventually, just not yet. The kitchen faucet dripped. 3 drops. 4. The rhythm matched something mechanical inside my chest, something counting down. I heard her voice floating from the front door, cheerful and light with the neighbor. The woman who'd raised me had already written me out of her future, and she was laughing about someone's new garden gnome. My name is Serena. I'm 34, and I'm a project manager at a logistics firm. This is the story of how I stopped funding my own erasure. I slid the will back exactly where I'd found it. Not because I was hiding that I'd seen it, I'd tell her eventually, but because I needed time to understand what it meant, not emotionally, strategically. The drive home that afternoon took 40 minutes. I spent every one of them doing math. Over the past 3 years, since my stepfather Victor passed, I'd sent my mother $1,400 monthly. I'd replaced her water heater, her furnace, her back porch steps. I'd covered Nathan's car insurance after his second DUI because Mom said the stress was destroying him. I'd paid for the family trip to Florida that I couldn't even attend because I was covering a colleague's maternity leave. The colleague whose promotion I'd trained her for. The total came to something north of $78,000 for a house I would never own, for a brother who hadn't worked in 4 years, for a mother who had decided, apparently long ago, that my competence meant I didn't need consideration. Victor would have never let this happen. He was the one who showed up to my swim meets when Mom forgot, the one who drove 3 hours to help me move into my first apartment, then slipped $200 into my coat pocket when he thought I wasn't looking. When he died, I lost the only person in that family who saw me as something other than an emergency fund. That night, I opened my banking app and stared at the automatic transfer. The cursor hovered over cancel. My thumb didn't move for 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock on my microwave the entire time. I wasn't hesitating because I felt guilty. I was planning. If I canceled immediately, Mom would notice within days. She'd call crying. I'd get the wounded voice, the accusations, the guilt. Nathan would text something dismissive, and I'd spend weeks defending a decision I had every right to make. So instead, I let the next transfer go through, and the one after that, 42 days of continued payments while I gathered everything I needed. I screenshotted the will. I pulled 3 years of bank statements showing every transfer, every emergency bailout, every loan that was never mentioned again. I made a spreadsheet, because that's what I do, with dates, amounts, and descriptions. $1,400 per month baseline, $3,200 furnace, $847 Nathan's insurance, $2,100 Florida trip. The numbers filled 16 rows. I visited twice during those 6 weeks, smiled through dinners where Nathan scrolled his phone while I washed dishes, listened to Mom explain that he was finally getting his confidence back after his latest failed venture, a dropshipping business that lasted 2 months and cost $4,000 of her savings. My savings, technically, since I'd been covering her basics while she funded his dreams. The second visit, I asked casually about her plans for the house. "Oh, you know," she said, waving her hand. "Nathan will need somewhere stable." She didn't look at me when she said it. I wondered if she even noticed. On day 43, I canceled the transfer. No announcement, no warning, just a quiet severing of a cord she didn't know I'd been ready to cut for weeks. Then I waited. It took exactly 30 days. Not 29, not 31. 30 days to the hour. I was slicing bell peppers when my phone lit up. The knife paused mid-cut. Red juice pooled on the cutting board, spreading slowly toward the edge. I watched it reach the lip and drip onto the counter before I picked up. "Where's my money?" Mom's voice hit before I could say hello. No greeting, no warmth. Just that question, flat and demanding, like I'd missed a bill payment. I set the knife down carefully, wiped my hands on the dish towel. "I'm sorry?" "The transfer, it didn't come through. Something's wrong with your bank." Behind her, I heard Nathan's television, some gaming stream, the synthetic sounds of explosions and victory music. He was close enough to hear this conversation, close enough to not care. "There's nothing wrong with my bank," I said. "I canceled it." The silence lasted 3 seconds. I counted. "You what?" "I canceled the transfer. 6 weeks ago, actually. You're just now noticing because this is the first month it would have hit." Her breathing changed. Shorter, sharper. "You can't do that. We depend on that money. Your brother has 2 working legs and a college degree he's never used," I said. "And you have a house that's apparently going entirely to him, so I figured he could start earning his inheritance early." More silence. Then her voice dropped into a register I knew well, the wounded mother, the martyr's tone. "Serena, I don't know what you think you saw, but the will in your kitchen drawer, behind the insurance folder you asked me to grab." I kept my voice level. "I saw it 6 weeks ago. I've had time to process." Nathan's voice cut through, distant but audible. "What's she bitching about now?" Mom didn't cover the phone, didn't tell him to be quiet, just sighed like I was the problem. "You went through my private documents. You asked me to open that drawer, but let's skip the part where you make this about privacy instead of the part where you wrote me out of everything while I've been paying your mortgage for 3 years. I heard her chair scrape. Movement. Then Nathan's voice, closer now. "Is this about the money? Tell her to stop being dramatic." "I can hear you," I said, "and I've done the math. $78,000 since Victor died. That's not including the decade before that, when I worked 2 jobs to pay for my own college, while you got a car for your 18th birthday, and a down payment on an apartment you abandoned after 4 months. That's not fair," Mom said. "Nathan's situation is different. He's sensitive. He's struggled. He's 31. You don't understand him. You've never understood him." I laughed. I actually laughed. "You're right. I don't understand a grown man who lets his sister fund his life while planning to inherit everything she paid for. That math doesn't add up for me." Nathan grabbed the phone. I could tell by the sound quality changing, the background noise shifting. "Listen," he said, his voice dropping into something he probably thought sounded intimidating. "You think you're better than everyone. You always have. You walk around with your job and your apartment and my job that I worked for, my apartment that I pay for. Go on. You were always the favorite. Dad, Victor, he always liked you more. And now you're throwing a tantrum because Mom's finally treating things fairly." The words were so absurd I almost pitied him. Almost. "Victor left me his watch and his books. That's it. Everything else, the life insurance, the savings, went to Mom, which I then spent 3 years supplementing because you couldn't be bothered to contribute. That's not my fault. The economy has been hiring for 31 years. You just never applied." Mom's voice came back, strained now. "Serena, stop. This is cruel. After everything I sacrificed for you, name one thing." I said it quietly, almost gently. "One specific sacrifice you made for me." The pause stretched long enough that I heard Nathan's game in the background. The victory music played again. His character had won something while our family fell apart. "I gave you a home," Mom finally said. "I raised you. You gave me a room in a house where I learned to be invisible so you could focus on him. You taught me that love was conditional, and I wasn't meeting the conditions. That's not sacrifice, Mom. That's just parenting badly. How dare you?" "I'm not finished." My voice was still calm. I'd practiced this part. In the shower, on my drives to work, in the moments before sleep when anger would have kept me awake if I hadn't learned to channel it. Victor was the one who showed up. Victor was the one who remembered my birthday, my graduation, my first promotion. When he died, I lost the only parent who actually saw me. And instead of grieving together, you handed me his responsibilities and started planning how to cut me out of what's left. Nathan said something muffled, probably to a girlfriend who'd wandered in. I heard a female voice ask what was happening. "You're selfish," Mom said. The word hit like she'd been saving it. "After everything I've done, everything I've tolerated from you." "What have you tolerated?" My reliability, my financial support, the fact that I never asked you for anything because I learned early that asking was pointless. Your attitude, your coldness. You've never been warm like Nathan, never needed me. I let that sit for a moment, let her hear her own words echo. You're right, I said. I didn't need you, because you made it clear, very early, that needing you was a weakness you didn't have room for. So I stopped. And now you're angry that I also stopped pretending the arrangement worked for me. You'll regret this. Her voice cracked. When I'm gone, you'll regret. Maybe. But I'll regret it with my savings account intact and my self-respect functional. That's a trade I'm willing to make. Nathan came back on. You're destroying this family. No, I said. I'm leaving a family that was already broken. There's a difference. Mom's crying. Are you happy now? I looked at my cutting board. The peppers were browning at the edges. My dinner was ruined. I didn't care. I'm not happy, I said. But I'm done being the emergency fund for people who plan to erase me. Tell Mom she can sell the house she's leaving to you if she needs money. You can move back in and take care of her the way I've been doing for years. That's what family does, right? The silence was thick. Don't call me again, I said. Either of you. I've blocked automated transfers, and after this call, I'm blocking the numbers. If there's a genuine emergency, a hospitalization, a death, you can reach me through a family attorney. Otherwise, we're done. Mom's voice came back, distant and wet. You're not my daughter. I exhaled, slowly, completely. I haven't been for a long time, Mom. You made sure of that. I ended the call. The kitchen was quiet, the refrigerator hummed. Somewhere outside, a dog barked twice and went silent. I stood there for a long moment, phone still in my hand, waiting for the guilt to arrive. It didn't come. Instead, something else settled in its place, something that felt like breathing after holding my breath for years. I scraped the ruined peppers into the trash and started over with fresh ones. The oil sizzled when they hit the pan. The garlic bloomed in the heat. I ate standing at my counter, not because I was rushing, but because I wanted to feel my own space around me. Space I'd earned, space I'd kept, space that no one could write me out of. The texts came in waves over the following days. I didn't read them. The notification count climbed to 23 before I blocked the numbers for good. Nathan's girlfriend sent a message from her account. She must have gotten my number from his phone. Something about being heartless, about how Mom was devastated. I blocked her too. My friend Danielle called that evening, having noticed I'd been quieter than usual. I told her everything. She listened without judgment, then said simply, "You should have done this years ago." It helped to hear it from someone outside the situation. 3 weeks later, I heard through a cousin that the house needed a new roof. Nathan had suggested Mom take out a loan. She was looking into options. I wished her luck, privately, without responding. I'd stopped caring about the inheritance months ago, the house, the accounts. They were just symbols of a belonging I'd never actually had. What I'd reclaimed was worth more than any will could grant me. 6 weeks after the call, I moved $1,400 into a high-yield savings account. My money, my future. I named the account something simple, mine. A year later, I learned through that same cousin that Mom had moved in with Nathan after selling the house at a loss. They were struggling. I felt a flicker of something. Not guilt, exactly, but recognition. That could have been my life, perpetually rescuing people who wouldn't rescue themselves. Instead, my savings had grown to nearly $20,000. My stress had dropped, and I'd started sleeping through the night for the first time in years. Victor had been gone for over 4 years by then. But that first evening after the call, I pulled out the watch he'd left me, a modest Seiko scratched on the back from years of wear, and I put it on. I hadn't worn it since the funeral. It felt heavier than I remembered, more solid, like something that had earned its weight. I think he would have understood, not just the decision, but the delay, the planning, the quiet, strategic reclamation of a life that had been leaking away into people who didn't value it. Love isn't measured by how much you sacrifice until there's nothing left, and boundaries aren't cruelty. Sometimes they're the first honest thing you've said in years. If my story sounds familiar, if you've ever funded your own invisibility, smiled through dinners that cost you more than money, or realized that being the strong one just meant being the one nobody protected, I see you, and I hope you find your way to that moment, the one where you stop choosing them and finally choose yourself. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment about the moment you decided enough was enough. Hit subscribe so you don't miss more stories like this. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.